What's up, Taylor?
Hey, thanks so much for talking to me.
Of course, thanks for calling. What's up?
All right, so 2 weeks ago, my boyfriend broke up with me unexpectedly and abruptly after 7 years together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the breakup was really, as I mentioned, unexpected, but it also was super quick and careless, kind of like the rug being pulled out from under me. And I'm in, the waves of heartbreak, kind of really wondering like how best to move on from something so disorienting and what closure could look like and if something like that's even worth it.
Oh, man. We're not in the same room, but I'm just picturing myself just sitting there with you.
Thanks.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened.
Yeah, so I think, about 2 weeks ago, I thought we were meeting up for a date, and
Oh, man.
it was in my neighborhood, and I went out to meet up with him after kind of like saying like, oh, I'm so excited, we can have dinner, whatever, like all these things. And then I went outside to meet up with him, like just at like a park near my house that we go to a lot. And I had no idea. And I just sat down and he said, we need to talk. I want to break up with you. And that was pretty much it.
Like no prompting, no nothing?
Yeah. And like, we had just a month before had like a really amazing trip together, like our first time traveling in a really dedicated way. And then since we got back, like things were good, but I also felt like he was kind of pulling away in certain ways. And so I was just sort of open saying, like, I want to talk to you, or like, I want to, just kind of trying to be positive, but I had no idea. Like, I thought that maybe like eventually there were things we could talk through, but every time I talked to him about like, is everything good? Or is this just in my head? He would be like, no, everything's good. Everything's good. And so, that day I really just expected to like have a fun date and like reconnect because we hadn't seen each other in a couple of days. And he just decided to end it. And it was just not a conversation. There were no specific issues pointed to. There was no care. There was no like, it felt like he had just come to deliver the news and like couldn't wait to get out of there.
Yeah. I mean, I always want to try the best I can to put myself in somebody else's pants on the other side of that conversation. And so
Totally.
I get like 7 years of something's been building and building and building. Like doing that compassionately, and I would even say honorably, means sitting in a series of conversations and basically it's in a spa of discomfort, right? Just hot, bubbling water of discomfort. And there can be I need to do this, I've got to do this. And you kind of amp yourself up for it and just rip the Band-Aid off. And you're left there just exposed. Have y'all had any follow-up conversations? Y'all were together 7 years, the better part of a decade.
Yeah.
Have y'all had any follow-up conversations? Y'all go have coffee? I mean, like,
no.
I deal with exes who they file for divorce, then they go sit down at a diner somewhere. Not everybody, of course, but then they say, like, okay, here's reality. And it sounds like you didn't get that at all?
Yeah, so basically he was about to leave town the next day, and I was so, like, blindsided. I didn't really know so much what to say. Like, we probably talked for, like, 30 minutes, and maybe that was, like, longer than he even intended to stay. And then we said, maybe we'll need to have another conversation, but it was definitely not like, let's put a pin in this and talk later when you've had a little time to process. And so a few days later, he texted me saying, I'm back in town. If you want to talk again, let me know. But also I understand if you don't or whatever, or you need more time.
But like, of course we got to talk. 7 years.
Yeah.
I
mean, later, I think, so I decided a couple days later, like, I don't know if a conversation right now feels most helpful to me because I don't really know, like, what this person has told me that they don't want me in their life anymore. So am I meant to go sit there and say, can you actually try to come up with some more reasons to tell me to my face why you don't want to be with me?
Yeah, and listen, you're angry.
To protect myself.
You've gone to anger. So I want you to treat this as though somebody died or something died, because something did die. And it's not just, here's a few things that died. Your relationship, your trust in yourself.
Yeah.
Because I heard you saying, like, man, I had this sense. And if you go play CSI, which it is not time to do that right now.
No.
But if you went and played CSI and reverse engineered this, you would start to see little breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
And you might remember, man, he started just flipping his phone over about a year ago when I walked in. Or the response time on texting got longer and longer. Like, whatever. You'll start seeing things. But also, you know what else died? Like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because whether we like it or not, we all of a sudden have these pictures that our bodies begin to rest in. And it's like what Thanksgiving's going to look like in 20 years.
Yeah.
It's what the holidays are going to feel like in 15 years. The next vacation we're going to take. And so all of these things die at one time, abruptly. Like somebody got hit by a car, right? Yeah. And it doesn't surprise me that you're getting you're either in it or you're about to unload on the anger part of like the disbelief and the what in the world. And you kind of feel like the sun is out, but you don't really, everything's gray, right? And then the sun, you feel the sun rays and then you just get pissed. And I spent 7 years and I didn't do what I wanted to do and I silenced my own voices. Like all that stuff will come out and it's all right and good. It's all good. Here's the best, like walking through it step by step. Here's the best things I can tell you. Okay. And no one's going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. And it's not like I got some secret formula. It's just that I care about you enough to be honest with you. Okay. I want you to be really hyper committed to grieving this. And I want you to be hyper and what's that mean? Don't try to avoid the black holeness of it all.
Yeah.
Being real sad. Being real mad. Don't run from that. It's easy to hide behind anger. It's easy to go hook up with somebody else. It's easy to go, it's easy to do all that. The hard yet healing part is to say, I was super vulnerable and somebody ripped my heart out. I don't even know why. They just did. And then the last thing I would tell you to do is be hyper committed to like the discipline, which is another word that people don't like in grief. Doing the 4 or 5 things every single day that will keep you healthy. Is that a walk? Is that calling a friend? Is that meeting a girlfriend for coffee in a diner? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are the things that you know? I need to go see the sunshine every day. I need to turn off Netflix and go to bed. Because this is just going to be, you got a broken heart. It's just going to be hard for a while.
Yeah.
And none of that is pleasant. None of that's fun. And none of that's right. But I want you to play a 2-year game, a 3-year game. Who are you going to be in 2 years or 3 years? Not how do you make this go away or how do you get all the answers or how do you go play CSI New York or whatever.
Right.
And none of that makes you feel better today. And I'm sorry.
I think that will be good.
Do you miss him? Or do you miss what y'all have?
Yeah. No, I really miss him. And I think that's what's really hard. It kind of feels like, you're like a kid and you have like a best friend and they just like decide they don't want to like hang out with you anymore. And I think that's obviously like the loss. And I feel committed to like processing that. But I think one of the really hard parts about the way that it happened, and I'm finding myself like really focusing on how it happened so abruptly, is that, we were partners, I thought, for so long. And for him to kind of make this decision without letting me in or talking to me or having any kind of compassion, like he basically, I feel like my agency and like my voice was sort of stripped. And so I'm wondering if eventually, like when I feel like I'm in a stronger position, if it might be helpful for me to kind of reinsert myself in the narrative and be able to kind of close it and speak for myself and say, you know, like, this was
For what?
rough. But yeah,
Because here's what you're experiencing. You're experiencing the collision of what I would call theoretical proposition and reality.
Mm.
And did you go to grad school?
No.
Okay. You speak as a grad student, which is awesome. That was my world. But you speak in the way of things, the way things should be. And every hard, brutal, ugly conversation, I deserve a voice in it. And I go with you theoretically. That's just not how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
The way the world works is true, long-standing romantic relationships and love and partnerships and growth takes one terrifying foundational pillar: risk. I'm going to put it all out there and you can rip my heart out of my chest. And unfortunately, if you try to quote unquote insert yourself and have agency and power, then it becomes this tug of war and it never truly settles into one ship. Mm-hmm. And I think all of our modern dating and relationships has turned into a chaotic mess because people are trying to self-actualize in a marriage, and that's not what they're for. They're trying to self-actualize, become the best you inside of a romantic relationship. And the reality is the only way to get to the best life is to fully say, this is all of me. Do you still love me? Please don't hurt me. Mm-hmm. And there's something about getting your heart ripped out. It feels powerless. It makes you feel small. It makes you feel dumb. It makes you feel all those things. And all those feelings are right, but it doesn't mean you are wrong to risk. It just means somebody broke your heart. Don't do this by yourself. Set up a regular, get a group of 3 girlfriends and just say, I'm going to text you over the next month because I'm heartbroken. And if I text you at 11 o'clock, just text me back, please. Or if I say I need an emergency coffee, please. And whatever your things are, I'm not gonna go hook up with anybody. I'm not gonna date anybody. I'm not going to just sit there and watch Netflix. I'm not gonna drink. Whatever boundaries you need to put on your grief. 7 years is a long time. 7 years, you had plans. Like, this was your guy, and he just bailed. I'm sorry. Now's not the time for power and strength and all shit. Now's the time just to sit and go, I loved and I lost. And it just stinks. Thanks for the call, Taylor. Call anytime. Don't do this by yourself.